I want to share with you the stories of my two dear friends, let's call them John and Sarah, and how their harrowing experiences led them both to embrace the philosophy of determinism. My name is Mark Roach. You can call me Roach. My purpose is to assist you in discerning your genuine needs and desires and to guide you in attaining them. Their journeys have been challenged and thought-provoking, causing me to deeply ponder the age-old question, do we truly have free will? Or are our lives predetermined by forces beyond our control? John was an avid rock climber, always seeking out the most challenging routes. One fateful day, while attempting a particularly treacherous climb, John lost his grip and fell 30 feet onto the rocky ground below. He was knocked unconscious and rushed to the hospital, where he remained in a coma for 2 weeks. When John finally awoke, he faced a long and grueling recovery. Multiple surgeries were required to repair his shattered bones and internal injuries. As he slowly regained his physical and mental facilities, John began to reflect on the events that led to his accident. He realized that countless factors outside of his control had converged to bring about his fall. The weather conditions that day, the geology of the rock face, his own physical state, even the events of his entire life leading up to that climb. John came to believe that his accident was not a result of his own choices, but it was inevitably an outcome of deterministic forces. This realization brought John a strange sense of peace. He no longer blamed himself for what happened, but saw it as part of the grand, predetermined unfolding of the universe. He embraced determinism as a way to accept and make sense of his life's trajectory. Now, Sarah, she was an accomplished equestrian. She suffered a similar fate when she was thrown from her horse during a competition. She too was rendered unconscious and faced a lengthy recovery involving multiple surgeries. As Sarah grappled with her new reality, she delved into the study of neuroscience and philosophy, seeking answers to profound questions raised by her accident. She learned about experiments showing the brain activity related to a decision can precede conscious awareness of that decision, suggesting that our choices may be determined by prior unconscious processes. Sarah also encountered the arguments of philosophers who contended that true free will is incompatible with the deterministic laws of cause and effect that govern the physical universe. If all events, including our thoughts and actions, are the inevitable product of prior causes, how can we truly be free to choose? Like John, Sarah found a measure of solace in determinism. She came to see her accident not as a cruel twist of fate or a failure of her own will, but as an expression of the intricate web of causality that binds all things. Embracing determinism allowed her to let go of regret and resentment and to find meaning in the belief that all events, even the most tragic, play a necessary part in the unfolding of existence. The stories of John and Sarah highlight the profound impact that personal experiences can have on our philosophical beliefs. Their brushes with death and the long roads to recovery force them to confront deep questions about the nature of choice, causality, and the self. While I empathize with their conclusions, I must admit I'm not fully convinced of the truth of determinism. The question that free will versus determinism is one that has long divided philosophers and scientists, and compelling arguments exist on both sides. On one hand, the discovery of neuroscience and the logical arguments against libertarian free will are difficult to ignore. Our choices do seem to be shaped by factors outside of our control, from our genes to our environment to the microscopic physical processes in our brains. Yet I cannot shake the intuitive feeling that I am the author of my own decisions, and that my conscious will is not merely an illusion, but a genuine force in the world. And even if our individual choices are ultimately determined, I believe there is still a great value in the subjective experience of deliberation, decision-making, and taking responsibility for one's actions. Moreover, I worry about the potential consequences of a widespread embrace of determinism. Would a belief in the inevitability of all events lead to passivity, fatalism, or a shirking of moral accountability? These are risks we must consider. In the end, I suspect the truth may lie somewhere in the poles of absolute free will and of hard determinism. Perhaps we are neither entirely free nor entirely determined, but rather navigate the constraints we do not choose, some measure of genuine agency. Or perhaps the very categories of free and determined are too simplistic to capture the profound mystery of the human condition. Regardless of where one stands on this debate, the stories of John and Sarah remind us of the power of personal narrative and experience in shaping our beliefs about the big questions in life. They question us to examine our own assumptions about choice, responsibility, and the nature of the self. And they invite us to approach these heady philosophical issues not just as intellectual abstractions, but as deeply human concerns with real implications for how we understand and navigate our lives. As for me, I'll continue to ponder and wrestle with these questions informed by my experiences of these two friends and my own, and the ongoing dialogue between science and philosophy. In the meantime, I strive to live ethically and purposefully to make choices that feel authentic and meaningful to me, even as I remain humbled in the vast complexity of the forces that shape our lives. Mark Roach here. All the best.